Guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Patito here, uh, doing basically a deck tech on Feyblade. It's a deck that's been popping off in Standard. It went 7-0 on Standard Challenge on MTGO, and the deck is named Feyblade because of Nurturing Pixie and Tithing Blade. How these two cards interact is that Tithing Blade says that opponent sacrifices a creature. Nurturing Pixie basically lets you bounce to your hand a non-land, non-fairy permanent. So you can bounce anything other than herself back to your hand, and if you do, she gets a +1/+1 counter. So the way you wanna use this card is you always bounce something that is relevant, like Carrot Cake, which is Vanity, Hopeless Nightmare, Tithing Blade. There's a bunch of stuff here to blink, even Lauren the Third Pet, as you're gonna see in some of my video, in some of my matches on the gameplay video. Bouncing Lauren is a real thing on some matchups. You can also bounce Beza, actually. Never happened. It's kind of expensive, but um, then you have Guardian of Girapur, which is basically another way to bounce your stuff. Uh, no, just pay attention that Guardian of Girapur only works for creatures and artifacts. So you cannot bounce like Hopeless Nightmare, nor Witch's Vanity, but you can bounce Carrot Cake and Titan Blade. You can also bounce any other creature you control. Um, then you have Braids, a Reason Nightmare, which is basically an outlet to sacrifice stuff. You can sack your Hopeless Nightmares, your Carrot Cakes, your Novice Inspectors if they aren't doing much. You can also sacrifice food tokens and clue tokens that you're gonna have floating around because of other cards in the deck. Um, yeah, that's basically it. Then you have one Ruthless Lawbringer. This card is pretty useful, but some matchups I board it out. This is basically against other enchantment decks and stuff like that. I don't think the card is very good um, against creature decks because you have to trade one of your tokens for something they own, and sometimes what they own is not all that big. Um, Loren, I've already explained. Beza is to stabilize the board. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices early game in order to. Uh, Basically, you don't have much board presence early game, and Bez is a way of returning to the board state. If uh, if you're also playing more aggressively, Beza might just be a draw card on a 4/5. Um, Spice Peaks, we have Lively Dirge, which is basically a tutor or reanimate or both. Um, Usually I just use it to bring up one of the three drops and one pixie to bounce something back to my hand. If I don't have pixies, I'll go for an investigator, but that's pretty much it. And lastly, I don't think I mentioned, but we are running 3 copies of Zerlin. Zerlin is just an amazing creature, a 3/3 flyer with vigilance for 3 that whenever attacks gains you a life. And then as a trigger that can reanimate stuff. That in this deck it can bring anything back but Beza. You just cannot reanimate Beza with it. But you usually don't want to. You want your Titan Blades, your Witch's Vanities, your Hopeless Nightmares, or other creatures that died, like Braids, like Guardian of Girapur, yeah, or Loran. So that's what the creatures in this deck are trying to do. Um, then the mana base, we have 8 basics, 4 Caves of Coilus, 4 Concealed Courtyard, 2 Restless Fortress, 4 Shadowy Backstreet, and 2 Demolition Fields. Demolition Field is an amazing card against Fountain Port and other stuff that you're gonna find. In the meta, Shadowy Backstreet just helps you fill the graveyard for Zoralin and stuff. Restless Fortress is the main land of choice, then the first land is the Pain land, which are the dual lands available in Standard. Then for the sideboard, we have two Hopeless Nightmares that we are using to go against control decks, but as we've seen on the gameplay video, it sometimes doesn't work all that well. Bandit's Talent is on the same plan. You bring it against control decks. Um, then we have two Lauren the Third Path. You bring it against everything that is artifact oriented or enchantment oriented. You bring Lauren in. Um, we have one Serra Paragon against. It's basically against black decks. You can bring your stuff back from the graveyard. Against decks that exile your creatures, this is not very useful, so don't try it in those matchups. Elesh Norn is amazing against enter the battlefield stuff. Like against Domain is really good. Hostile Investigator is also on the plan of this card. Also comes in against control and mid range. Malicious Eclipse and Spring-Loaded Soul Blades are cards that are meant to be played against aggro, so against your lizards and your mice deck. Uh, Malicious Eclipse gives -2/-2 to every creature and exiles them. And Spring-Loaded Soul Blade is a flash artifact that deals 5 to a tapped creature. The reason we run this is because we can blink it also. You can also blink this with your Pixies, with your Guardian of Kirapur. It deals 5 to a tapped creature, so as long as it is tapped, it's fine. Let me just pull my photo this way so you can see the full picture of the sideboard with the Elesh Norns and stuff. And this is basically it. I think the winner's deck had a couple of things different from my sideboard. I think there wasn't Hopeless Nightmares. I think he had one more Hostile Investigator. I could craft one. I could see it working, but I just prefer to have consistency on the blinking part of the deck. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this deck tech. I'll put the link in the description for the deck list, and also the gameplay video will be up soon after. See you guys. Hope you enjoyed this stream. Hope you enjoyed this video.